You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Are you fed up with the corporate bullshit holding you back? Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, the ultimate launchpad for entrepreneurs ready to seize control and unleash their creative genius. Hosted by Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul. Each week he's breaking the chains of conventional work with bold strategies, raw insights, and inspiring success stories from the digital entrepreneurs who took the risk and invested in themselves. This is your call to arms. Invest in yourself, break free from someone else's rules, and build the empire you deserve. Now let's dive headfirst into today's explosive episode.
Welcome back to an amazing episode here, ladies and gentlemen, of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I am very thankful that I've gotten a hardcore man, a metal man himself here. He has done amazing things. I'm not going to bore you with a simple introduction. I'm just going to jump right into it because his voice is silky smooth. He is awesome. His name is Will Henshall. Will, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to learn all about you, what you've done. I had an intro because I thought we're going to be with your partner, so I didn't want to read that and be confused.
All right.
We are just jumping into it. Will, thank you so much for being here.
It's a real pleasure. And your podcast is about something that's dear to my heart, which is giving people agency over their own life, their own business, their own income stream, not having to, answer to the man, not having to sit in a cubicle, make it. I mean, literally, when we saw your podcast, we said to our agency, we're like, we really need to do this guy because this is exactly something that has been part of my life. So the short version of my story is I'm a successful artist. I'm a songwriter. And back in the 90s, I founded a music band called London Beat. And anybody who's over sort of 40 odd will remember, I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you, etc. You remember that? I was the guy behind the band, and the main writer of the band was me and three African-American amazing vocalists. We were based in the UK. Second, after I did that, I'll come back to the entrepreneurial thing in just a second. I got very interested in recording studio technology, and in the 90s, pre-digital in a lot of ways, got really interested in digital audio recording. And so me and another guy started another project called Rocket Network, and that became a system that networks recording studios. So you could have had a singer in London, a guitarist in Dublin, you could have had an orchestra in Los Angeles. And we raised nearly $50 million, sold it to Avid in 2003, and it is the underpinning of something that everybody uses in movie post and music production today called Avid Cloud Collaboration. So I'm an inventor. So to be a successful artist and to be a successful inventor, guess what you have to be? An entrepreneur. Boom. You have to be a damn entrepreneur, because you can't be an artist unless you're an entrepreneur of any kind. You can't be an inventor unless you're an entrepreneur. And I come from a British originally. I live in the USA now. And so I come from a line of entrepreneur inventors. My dad, my granddad, my great-granddad, working in steam engines, industrial stuff from my dad. He was working in recycling. And so I kind of grew up with this My dad would walk into a room and say, the door handle, that's not well designed. There's a much better door handle. And he'd get out a napkin and he'd be drawing a much better thing. That's kind of built in. But to be successful at any of those things, you got to be an entrepreneur. You got to figure out gap in the market, opportunity, product fit, pricing,
all that fun stuff that us entrepreneurs, the business side, have to look at. I love how you're like, I don't want to be just one thing. I want to change things up, because probably when you decide to start the connecting, the what ended up becoming Acast or the cloud networking, so that
Avid cloud collaboration.
Avid, that's Avid Cloud,
Pro Tools, and there's
that's
the video editing software an audio editing software that all the pros use.
I love it. But I love how you started off, you're like, I'm going to be a musician. And you probably had problems getting studio time, or people were all over the place. And then you built this business, and then it's sold. And you're like, you solved problems before you even knew they were problems, because you were just solving your own problem. And I love that, because that's what an entrepreneur is. We solve problems. And that's what an inventor is. They solve problems. An artist solves problems because there's not a sound out there. And so I love how you have just been in that world inventing stuff, because you come from inventors. I want to know, was there any chance at all that you were going to follow the 9-to-5, or were you like, I can't even put the yoke of a tie on for a moment?
Yeah. So I've never had a job until I sold Rocket Network to Avid, which is Pro Tools. Anybody who knows about music recording will know the tool, the music app, Pro Tools recording app. So we sold Rocket Network, which was this collaboration system, to Pro Tools in 2003. As part of the deal, I had to work for 18 months in corporate, in their dev center, integrating the Rocket Network collaboration technology into the Avid Cloud collaboration system. And I had an office. They didn't give me a cubicle, thank you. Senior network engineer there. And I went from having 70 employees, being the chairman with the CEO, having a product that was used by the first some of the big movies at the time, Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter, and Clapton was using it, and a lot of stuff happening in the early 2000s, to having a desk job and reporting to a mid-level manager.
From the boss to like a midshipman, not even able to steer the ship itself.
Oh no, not even remotely. And it was part of the deal. I had an earn out. I was like, oh my God, I had no idea it was going to be like this. And it was the longest. I don't know if you were like this, or any other folk listening to this like this, but when I was in math class at school, I'd look at my watch and the damn second hand's going backwards.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's still 5-3. I can't believe it. I look again, it is still 5-3. And I'd look again, I'm like, dude, it is still 5-3. And that's what it was like working there. It was just incredibly tricky. The other thing I discovered about having to clock in, because they were very specific, you had to clock in at 8 and you were done by 6. It's a long day, and I'm working with a lot of other, Avid are, at the time, they still are, they're one of the most successful tech, audio and video technology businesses in the world. And so the people that work there are the best. There's some, you know what I mean by a propeller head? Someone who's like got a propeller head around their head.
They're just geniuses. They're levels above everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I was on a team, like playing in the Lakers all of a sudden, like, you're on a court with the best guys in the world. And that was really inspiring. And I learned a lot about process. I learned a lot about software development from, like, imagine just being thrown on, you're in the Lakers and all of a sudden, oh, that's how this team is so successful. But the thing that killed me more than anything was, you had to go in at 8 and you were done at 6 or 7 or 8. And I don't work like that. I need to get an idea. I need to figure out the thing. And then I need to get out and walk on the beach. I am working. You might think I'm looking like I'm walking on the beach, but nope. I have a book in my hand. I'm thinking, and that is how I'm able to do things, to create products, to create, to build value. And I found myself sitting in the office just going, these guys are paying me well, and I am just spinning my wheels. I can't work like this. And so I go to my mid-level manager and say, listen, I need to spend a couple of days working remotely. And they said, we don't do that here. I was like, oh. And I'll tell you what happened. It's a funny story. 18 months or whatever, it was 15 months in, I had a window when I could leaving stuff on the table. But I remember I was in a strategic meeting with a bunch of other mid-level folk, and they came round to the table and they said, what do you think, Will? And I found myself saying, well, if I was the CEO of this company, none of you people would be working for me. There's dead silence in the room, you know. I know, it's like...
That's a heavy statement to make.
They're like, thanks for your feedback.
Moving on, we're going to go to John over here.
Yeah, that's like what happened. So I had to go and say, the CEO who I knew personally, outside of all this, and I said, Dave, listen, I think it's time for me to move on. And
take the short walk out.
Yeah, it was great. I used to ride a motorcycle to work, and I got on my bike and I was like, wound it up in second gear and off down the California coast. I'm like, I'm done with this. So that's a short version of a long story.
Oh, I love it, because you have someone like yourself. You are independent, rocking it out, able to turn on a dime, and then all of a sudden hit that wall, hit the corporate world, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can confirm I do not work in this place. And now you're doing your own thing. You're kicking ass, taking names. What are you doing right now? That's
yeah. Thank you. I've always been interested in men's work, and how when men are in the cave, metaphorically, with other good men who are their peers, it's a rising tide that floats all of our boats. And so having friendship and advice and care and love from heart-centered men from many different backgrounds, it's an inspiring and an important part of, being mentored, mentoring, male brotherhood, male bonding. And so as I said earlier, I'm based in Los Angeles, and in the early, when was it? About 2009, I was invited to join a men's group called Metal. It has nothing to do with aluminum, gold, silver, platinum. No, it's nothing to do with that. It's an acronym: media, entertainment, technology, the arts, and leadership. So this was a group started by Ken Rakowski, my partner, who's on a plane at the moment, which is why he's not here, but
we got the better version. We got the better one.
Yeah. Thank you. I like to hear that. And so I was invited to join this group, and I found there was 300, 400 guys that got together on a Saturday morning in a theater in West LA. And it was like a private David Letterman, Jon Stewart show. Ken Rakowski, my partner's the host. He's amazing. And it was like our own private talk show. It was so interesting, with the content focused on successful men. So if you are a entrepreneur or you are entrepreneurial, what a lot of people I wanted to ask you this, what a lot of people don't understand is, to be successful in the corporate world, you need to be entrepreneurial. Intrapreneurial. That is how you become successful. You don't think just in terms of your own cubicle. You have to think about a product line. You have to think about an opportunity. You have to think about the opportunity cost. There's a ton of stuff. The people who are successful in Fortune 100 companies are always entrepreneurial thinkers. It's just instinctive how that happens. And so, to cut a long story short, about 5 years ago, I'd been in this men's group for about, whatever it was, 10 years, met a lot of amazing men. And the question is, why are you in a men's group? Well, we're better men when we're in the cave, as I said earlier on. We really are. And we're better husbands, better brothers, we're better business partners when you have the regular contact with other men from different worlds. So about 5 years ago, I became Ken's partner in metal. And of course, about 2 weeks after I became his partner, COVID kicked in.
Our good friend, our very good friend.
Yeah, our good friend, the Corona, as they call it in Europe. And so we said, well, we can probably do this online. So we stopped meeting in the theater in March 2020, and we created a virtual version of that. I've been running large attendee Zoom calls for a while. The Zoom breakout rooms had just been developed, and I was like, oh, there's a way of doing this. So to get a long story short, it was the best thing that ever happened to us. During COVID, 3x'd our membership, became virtual. We've got guys from all over the world. And now, post-COVID, we are a hybrid organization. We get together on a Saturday for a members only. It's like a private TED for successful guys. That's kind of what this is. And we get together on Saturday mornings. We have other shows, other midweek sessions with expert sessions. And then 4 times a year, we get together in person. And we're doing one of those next week, which is for anyone listening to this after October the 19th, was back then. And so we have a day where we all get back together. So men's work is what I'm focusing on these days.
I love that. I love that because I think we need to heal a lot of the men's, because we've had this kind of negative view of what a man is. And we need to temper that, become better, be able to connect and learn from other men who are going through things. Because we think, as a man, I'm speaking as a man, we think we can do everything, right? Because we're men. And we realize that, no, we can't. And I love how you are helping men realize that and stepping into the manhood so they can be the best version of themselves.
We did a research project with about 450 of our guys over the last sort of 4 years. And I wanted to know, are there any common principles that successful men, many of our guys are entrepreneurs. I would say 80% of the men in metal are entrepreneurs. What do we have in common? Are there any common sort of, principles in terms of lifestyle or the way you think about things, or do we have anything in common? And the answer is yes, we do. And we've written a book called Masculine Intelligence, which lays out the 8 principles. And if it's okay with you, I'll just quickly tell you what
I'm fine with this.
All right. So we wanted to know, what do successful men, in our case, because we're a men's group, but this is true for all human beings, what do we have in common? And the first one is that we are all curious. We're the guys that if you're in the dentist and there's some book about gardening, you don't even like gardening, you'd pick it up and you'd be like, oh, that's so interesting, right? Or you'd be, you're on a plane and there's the flight magazine, and you pick it up and you're like, I had no idea that South Africa had You're right, you're curious. And then, so that's the first principle. The second one is creativity, right? If you're successful, you're creative. You're like, oh, I didn't know that this happened about that, because you're just curious about that. And now you're like, I want to be creative. Oh, there's a business opportunity, right? So you are creative. The third one is resilience. As you get older, you realize that resilience, getting back on the horse, is a critical skill. And especially as an entrepreneur, you can think of businesses that didn't work as failures, or you can think of them as learning experiments, right? There's a whole conversation about that, I know. Right. The fourth one is integrity, which is your word, fundamentally. Your word to yourself, your word to people around you, your word to your customers, right? If you say you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee, don't break that. And if someone calls up and says, I don't like the product, you say, you got it. I'm sorry it didn't work for you. Here's your money back, right? Whatever your promise is. Fifth one is, in our case, brotherhood. Knowing that having a community of intelligent, heart-centered guys from many different backgrounds, it's a really positive part of your life. You've got to have guys you can rely on and trust. Next one is financial literacy. What does that mean? It means you just got to understand how to make money, keep money, and grow money. You got to understand that money is an energy. It is a value provider for services or goods, right? That's another thing. You got to get your head around that. Doesn't mean you got to be a stock market wizard or a crypto genius. It just means just understand how it works. Next one is career development, professional development. So you've got to have the principle of always learning, right? I've got quite a few of my friends are physicians, and as a physician, guess what you're constantly doing? Learning new treatments, new drugs, new opportunities, new
viruses like COVID coming out.
Hello. And then the last one was very, very intriguing. And this is what we spend a lot of energy on and talking about and managing with the metal community. And it is work-life balance. How on earth do you manage that? And we are at a crazy time. And what I mean by that is this, and I'm not talking politics. By the way, in metal, we never talk politics and we never talk about religion.
Good.
It is off the table. This is a group of dudes and we don't care about those two to talk about those two things. You may care about them. We just don't discuss them because it always creates dissent. So to go back to work-life balance, we're at a time when you've got real life and screen life, real time and screen time. It's been getting more and more and more definitively like this, but we now can say we've got these two aspects of what we do. The screen time, there is an accelerating rate of change. It's nuts. Every day, new AI tool that'll do this, crypto that'll do that, robots that'll do this. I mean, what? It's getting faster, the rate of change. And on the other hand, screen time, opposite to screen time is real time, real life. You got to slow down. You got to smell the roses. You got to make a stew with your kids. You got to walk on the beach. You got to put the damn phone down and let's just go to the movies. We'll just hang out. So particularly as entrepreneurial men, we are stuck between these two worlds constantly. And how on earth do you manage that? That's the challenge that we have. One side, getting faster, you really got to keep a handle on it. And the other side, your kid's only going to be 10 once, dude. Right? That adorable little being, 10-year-old, in a couple of years is going to be rolling eyes and thinking dad's stupid. Well, actually 10, that's already happening at 10, but you know what I mean.
Well, within seconds, he's going to get that angsty teenager. The hormones are pumping through. You don't have your little buddy anymore who used to be like, I want to be with dad all the time.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a nightmare. I've got one son. He's 31 now. So these days that passed. What we did was to get the principles, we did the big research project that came out with these 8 principles. And then we've actually interviewed about 20 of our better known metal men for a book series we're doing. The first book has 8 guys. Some of them are well known. You may know Chris Voss, who wrote the book Never Split the Difference. He's a metal man. He was fascinating. There's a chapter on him. Nolan Bushnell, who invented the video game, literally. He started Atari. He started Chuck E. Cheese. Nolan's fascinating. There's a chapter about him in the book. James Altucher, who's the comedian, the chess player, the VC. He's also a metal man. Jim Quick, the brain coach. I don't know if you've seen him. He can teach you how to memorize 100 names in 10 minutes. It's amazing. It's all to do with association, right? Kenny Aronoff. He's another guy in the book. He's the best known rock drummer in the world. He's a riot. He's very funny. He played on Jack and Diane, which was a big hit back in the 80s, kids, but you have heard it a ton of times, again and again on the radio. And a few other guys. So
Jesus, you got heavy hitters over there in the metal group.
Yeah. And when you get to know, Chris Voss, he's got a very distinctive, I'm Chris Voss. He was a New York cop for years, right? So he doesn't, and an FBI hostage negotiator. So
He has a very distinct talking method.
Right, you can hear his voice in your head. It goes wasp, But when you get to know Chris and you realize that these 8 principles, curiosity, creativity, we asked each of the guys in this project, what is your single most important principle in your life? And so Chris Voss was an interesting case. I just talk about him as an example. We said, is it curiosity, creativity? Is it your resilience? Is it your integrity? You're a hostage negotiator. You saved tons of people's lives. You're a New York cop. You saw some insane stuff back in the 90s. And you know what he said? Creativity is his most important principle. It's walking into a situation and just looking up on the look in the top right-hand corner of the room you're in and just go, okay, what do I need to do here to look at this with some general principles? But creativity was his most important principle.
Jesus. That's good to know, because entrepreneurs are creative by nature. We need to know why.
Yeah.
I love it. You're blowing my mind here, Will, and I need a second to fully get everything down. So I'm going to ask you to blow my mind again. But by simply, I want to know, what do you do? Because you've had an amazing career. You've built businesses, sold business, hit a record, a hit song. You're not just some lazy guy working out. But what do you do to invest in yourself? Because you're a metal man. You invest in yourself to become the next version. How do you do that so that the audience, the listeners, the men who are listening, want to get to that level so that they can start becoming more metal?
Well, the last principle I talked about, which is a work-life balance. How do you be successful as an entrepreneur at the same time as remaining not burning out and being there for your family, your kids, your friends? That's the most difficult thing to do. And something that I have found is, in times of crisis, and as an entrepreneur, guess what? You're going to lurch from crisis to crisis. That's how it works. Everything sucks. We're all going to die. It's fantastic. It's like a complete roller coaster constantly. And I know that, but it still surprises me every time. I can't make payroll. I mean, I have a few other businesses too, so it's not just metal. And, a big supplier's not paid you and something else has gone wrong. And now you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? So when things like that happen, I've learned to be still. Do not be reactive. Just go into the yard, look at the avocado tree, take the dog for a walk, just relax. And the ability, I'm known by the people I know to be still. That's what I say when people are freaking out. I'm like, hey, let's not be reactive. Let's just be still. It's an hour isn't going to make a lot of difference. It's, live in LA, so we'll go down to the beach, stick our feet in the ocean, obviously keeping fit, critical. Keeping active, physically active, walking, going to the gym is critical, but also keeping your mind fit. Something a whole group of us do every day is the New York Times Wordle, because it's really good exercise for your brain, thinking conceptually, thinking memory. And so having a sort of an exercise of a third-party thing that is nothing to do with your work or anything else is a really good thing to do. Reading?
Oh, I love reading.
Yeah.
I have Kindle Unlimited because I'm reading constantly, finishing a book, getting the next one as soon as possible. Yeah. Every once in a while, putting in those fun books as well, because we need the entertainment. We are human. Right. Can't be working 24/7. Will, you're destroying my brain. I love it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I love it because these are the episodes I love reading back on the transcript again, because once you hear something, you read something, Alex Ramosi says it's probably the two fastest way to learn something. So I know I'm going to take more away from this episode than just listening to it.
Right.
But I kind of want to pick your mind. I don't want to jump into the future because I'm pretty sure you have like 80,000 things on the horizon that you want to achieve. And I want to have you come back and we'll talk.
I'd love to. Yeah.
So we're going to jump backwards. We're going to go to your 10-year-old self back in London, little cocky little kid, because all 10-year-olds are a little cocky at that time. What's one piece of advice that you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self to just help them, or just that you wish you had at 10?
That is such a great question. When I was 10 years old, I was equally interested in chemistry and physics and music. I was left and right brain. So I was I could sit at the piano and make stuff happen. I still don't know how and why that happens, but I can do it. I have no idea.
You're not questioning the gift. You're like,
it just happens. But I was also, my dad was a chemistry and physics teacher, and an inventor. So I was always interested in being in the lab. I was always interested in molecules. I can still do the hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, right? The periodic table, still wide in my brain. So what I would say to my 10-year-old self is that there are many successful musicians who are also scientists. Brian May from the band Queen is famously an astrophysicist, PhD scientist, as well as being one of the most influential guitarists in the world. Skunk Baxter, another older guy, but he is the guitarist from Steely Dan. I actually know Skunk pretty well. And he's also a defense contractor scientist. What? Einstein, we all know who Einstein was. He was a really talented violin player. And so I would have said to my 10-year-old self, it's okay to be interested and competent in science and music. In fact, there are many other people who do that. And so I always felt as a 10-year-old, I remember it well, that I had to make a choice. I had to go one way or the other. The answer is, if you are left and right brained, like a lot of people are, and ADHD, guilty as charged for viewers listening without looking at the image here. I'm holding my hand up as I'm an ADHD guy myself. It just means you need more stimulation to focus and concentrate on something. I would have said, it's okay to be interested in both of these things. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Also, I would have said, don't marry that girl that you married in your 20s. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Funny enough, that's not the first time that advice came up on this podcast.
Yeah. Well,
but I love it, Will, because it is true. It's part of being curious. Science is nothing but curiosity,
right?
The chance to figure out answers, and entrepreneurship is the same thing. It's our science.
And to be able to repeat an experiment is very simple.
Yeah. If you can do it once, you can repeat it, and then it's fact, and you can move forward until someone proves it otherwise. It's the same.
That's right. You put the formula out to the peer review, right? They find the thing that you've discovered and made is a scientific truth, and that's how the scientific method works. That's how phones work. That's how this damn computer works. I'm talking, they're all developed with the scientific method.
Yeah. And we need more scientists that are musicians, because they just make music out of science. Look at me being all poetic. But Will, I'm going to jump off stage here. I want you to let my audience know how they can connect with you, how they can become metal men, how anything you got going on that you want to share in the meantime. The floor, sir, is yours.
Very simple. Metal.men is our website. And if you're interested in finding out more about coming to one of our events, just look up metal.men. You'll find us on the socials too. And there it is. And you too, my brother. Look us up. Come on in, Phil.
I am definitely checking that in.
Metal.men guest list. I'll see you on Saturday.
Done. Already there. I'm there. I'm there. I have nothing going on Saturday. I will be there. Will, I want to thank you so much. It was a freaking pleasure having you on and just chatting. You blew my mind with what you shared, and I'm thoroughly going to enjoy that. So thank you. And obviously you have an invitation to come back whenever you want, because I have thoroughly enjoyed talking with you. But to my audience, make sure you check out the show notes to jump on to Metal Men and
Metal.men.
It's Metal.men. Simple.
There's no .com. It's metal.men.
There we go. Metal.men/guest list to become to see that Saturday, become part of the organization that are changing men, and also connect with Will. Again, Will, thank you so much. I look forward to talking with you. And as always, audience, remember to invest in yourself.
Thanks for joining us on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. The Podcast Mogul reminds you that your journey to freedom and success starts with one powerful move: investing in yourself. If today's episode sparked your fire, hit that follow button on Spotify and drop us a comment. Share your wins, your challenges, and what drives you to break free from the corporate grind. Remember, you're your best investment. Always invest in yourself, because your potential is limitless. Until next time, keep hustling and take control of your destiny.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.